right? First point of rebuttal. Not everyone in this room agrees that Leonardo DiCaprio's paintings are amazing. Secondly, we say that in every place where we learn debate, they taught us that the message that you are sending is far less important than the way that this message is perceived. We believe that this is the interesting debate to be held here, and this is why we'll explain to you in our extension a psychological analysis of A, what is the goal of this capsule? We believe that this is not something that is in particular clash here. Secondly, what happens when everything is a positive message? What happens to me when I see a different creature, a different being that sends out a true, pure negative image of himself, and how I become to dislike him? And thirdly, how is the alternative when I show a more complex picture? When I show a more and how is the good outweighs the bad only when there is bad that I could pull it in contrast with and weigh it against. But before that, let's address some of the points that we've heard, not yet, that we've heard now. So firstly, let's accept the challenge. How do we communicate that being able to overcome the Holocaust? Well, we say that A, this is simple. We show them a process in pictures of how democracy won, of how we made the UN. We show them a process of values that came out of the Holocaust. And more importantly, we say that the true question is how do we communicate anything good without contrasting it with the bad? We say that just showing pictures of good things and of music, by your own logic, doesn't necessarily count as something that is good as a positive message, because we don't have any idea of knowing how will they feel like. We have no idea of knowing if their good is like our good. Perhaps they're the complete opposite. Perhaps what is a threat to us is exactly the opposite to them. Perhaps sending them pictures of music is a threat to them by OO's own logic. Therefore, we say we'd be perfectly safer if we show the complexity, do both, then maybe that way we'll be safer in any case. So, lastly, some other points that we think that we have a problem with OO. Firstly, we say we agree with Jane's entire analysis of the distance and how they are very, very distant. This will happen probably in 1,000,000 years' time or 1,000 years' time, meaning they will have very little knowledge of what is going on here. And we say that the problem with what they present to you is that, and that bad pictures and bad motion will be considered as threat, is that we just know that it's simply untrue today, because we say that this is completely analogous, this capsule is analogous to wall paintings that we have from eras of the Neanderthals or the very early Homo sapiens. We say that over there, when we see that and we learn that Homo sapiens eradicated the Neanderthals, it doesn't come with any emotional or normative value. It is simply informative. It is something that helps us learn. So if they see about Mongol destruction, we don't believe that this necessarily will cause any emotions or be considered as a threat because it is so distant from them. No, thank you. Secondly, Okay, moving on. First point, what is the goal of this capsule? So, we definitely agree with the stakes at hand. We say that definitely these aliens could come and destroy us, especially if we're so inferior to them. Therefore, and another point that is very important is that, of course, we don't know how these creatures think. But we cannot assume in this debate that they will want to destroy us no matter what, because then there's no debate, they will just destroy us no matter what. And of course we can't assume that they will love us and want to be our friends no matter what, no debate there. So we have to assume somewhat of a human kind of point of view, a human kind of psychology. Therefore we say that they are complex creatures and that they are willing to understand both. Why is this important? Because we need, in order to prevent them coming and enslaving us, just like we do to cows, for example, creating food out of us, we need them to create compassion for them. Because if we would have had compassion for other animals, such as we have for dogs, they wouldn't have destroyed us. So compassion, like we get from OG, is very important. But now we're going to get to the analysis of how do you create compassion, not yet. So, what happens when everything is positive? We say that when I see an all-positive picture, then from the start, this looks firstly suspicious, okay? They talk about credibility when I come and I realize that not everything is what it seems. We're telling you that before that, when a creature that I don't know just sends me a message that everything is great, hey, everything is awesome, I suspect it, and especially if I know that I'm superior to him, this kind of annoys me. Think about how you feel when you meet a person that you know is not as smart or qualified as you, but he boasts about his achievements all the time. Think about how you feel when you see a chihuahua barking as if she's the big hero. You just want to basically kick it, and we don't think that any emotional attachment has ever been really, with grown-ups, because these are grown-up aliens, have really been formed with the Care Bears, because everything is so awesome with them. Who do we really feel compassionate about? Fictional characters such as Forrest Gump. Fictional characters that we can see and go through a process with. That we know that the good in him has overcome the bad, the things that he's been through. And this is the picture that we want to create for humanity. Yes, sir?
At the end of the debate, I want you to ask yourselves, if you met a lion in the savannah, would any of this logic lead you to show violent, aggressive pictures to it? Or would he not understand that, and that would be a very dangerous thing?
Again, by your own logic, we do not know how these creatures react. They are not lions to which we have vast knowledge of. We have basically no idea. Therefore, everything might be considered as a threat. We are operating under the assumption of the unknown, and therefore we want to create the most complicated picture possible to us. So what happens when I do get a complex picture? We say that, on the other hand, this creates credibility, as was already mentioned. This creates interest. This will make them from the very get-go feel, because they probably are so advanced that they know about many different kinds of civilizations. They need to choose which one to come to and which Earth to be friends with, right? We need to be able to arouse them from the very beginning, and we say that to create interest in the history, the most interesting stories are exactly of wars, how we were able to overcome them, how our values developed over time. We say that this is not a message that we're getting by an overly simplistic thing of, hey, look, here are all the good things that we've done. It creates an emotional attachment, like we have for characters that we are able to sentimentally identify ourselves with, because by all means we are convinced that these aliens have their problems as well, and we want to show them our problems to create some sort of attachment, some sort of identification, so they can say, and we say that this isn't only important for what's to come thousands of years from now, because obviously, whether these are human beings from the future or aliens, they will have the ability to come back in time and make our world better and to solve all of our problems. For that, we have to create compassion. We cannot create compassion by merely looking the most awesome that we can. In order to really create compassion, we need identification. In order to do that, we need to show them the bad. The good only comes to light when you see the bad with it. We beg you to propose.